This is the Audi S3 sports sedan. I've been waiting for a year for Audi to send me one. I just gotta note that it's on its way. And I wanted this blue color. I like this. And I looked out because they're sending the blue color. Yahoo! Let's look at the price tag though. It's not cheap because it has the souped up 4-cylinder 328 horsepower motor, 295 pounds-feet of torque, 0 to 60 in 4.4 seconds. Sounds good to me. And here is the price sheet. Base price $48,700, but as always, there are options to get into your wallet. $595 for that metallic blue paint. Everybody's charging for paint now. Kind of like the resort fees they have at motels nowadays. Just something to tack it on. And we have $6,200 below that. For the Prestige package, I'll just scroll down. You can freeze frame it if something catches your attention. But wait, there's more. 19-inch multi-spoke S-Design wheels with summer tires. And how much is that? Wow. And the S-Sport suspension with damper control. Gotta have that. And top it off, $1,000 for leather seats, $300 for a black roof. I don't know why anybody would want that. And $12.95 for shipping. And there is the total tab. Big jump from the 48 grand we started out with. 51% German parts. But it is put together in Germany by German workers, so that's nice to know. And here's the claim fuel economy. We'll find out if this is really true. We rack up around 400 to 500 miles on this baby. We actually drive them, unlike other YouTubers that take them out for a 1-hour test spin. That's why you should be watching my videos instead of theirs. And here's the safety rating. Well, not rated. What can I tell you? And this one's not for sale. It's only for important people like me to drive. But there's always plenty more at the dealer. And here it is, a nice looking vehicle, but it's kind of hot out here, 107 degrees, very high winds, so I need to get some shade against the wall so my camera doesn't get blown away. Alright, now we're in some shade, making life a lot easier for me. And I think we can see the vehicle just fine. I can anyway. I do like this blue paint. For an extra $600, I should. Got kind of a busy grill because of all the electronics on here, the cameras and radar cruise sensors, just the way it is nowadays. A rather complicated headlight system. We will be taking this out in the dark into a headlight test and night drive, but that is a separate video. We'll have a link for that video at the end of this video, so you're getting 2 videos for the price of 1, free. And the first thing we want to do to get a vehicle check is see if there's a spare tire. Looked underneath, nope. Don't get that on the S3, that's why I have my tire repair kit in the back here. If you take these out of town for a long trip, you should have a tire repair kit as well. Unless you like walking, if you get a flat. And I get emails from greenhorns all the time saying, well, I'll just call AAA on my cell phone. You know, try that on 3-day holiday weekend when everything's closed. Ask me how I know. The S3 has a nice modern interior. It's very well designed on paper. However, in practice, I have a few issues. So let's cover it all. The climate controls are separate from the info screen. Thank you very much. These type of climate controls do not belong on an info screen. It needs to be separate. Thank you very much. And the info screen itself is very easy to use. Menus, very simple. It's not the largest screen on the planet, but come on, how big do you want it? This is the volume knob, very strange. Instead of pushing it with your finger, you turn it like this. Where do they come up with this stuff? Well, it works. At least we get a knob, so on some cars you don't. It's on the info screen, so why complain? Here we have the shifter on the console, sort of a push button system. Push for park, move it up for reverse, down for drive. Some people don't like these. They say they don't like it because they have to take their eyes off the road to use it. Wrong. You don't have to take your eyes off the road to use this. It's touch feel. I can blindfold myself, know this is park. I know push forward for reverse, down for drive. Why do I have to look at it? You don't. This is a far, far better system than putting the shifter on the steering column, or anywhere else for that matter. I like this. And here we have the drive select, giving comfort, automatic, dynamic, and individual modes. Most of my driving will be in comfort, unless I say otherwise, like racing around mountain curves that we'll be doing later. I like round dials. We don't get that here, but this is still pretty easy to read. I'm not complaining for the gauge cluster. Rear view camera screen is small but very high quality, so no reason to complain. I do have a couple gripes. I don't think the plastic used in this vehicle is the highest quality I've ever seen. More like a VW Passat style than an Audi, in my opinion, but it's not bad. I just don't think it's becoming for a $60,000 car. And number two, I don't understand why car makers are putting this reflective plastic in these vehicles. Look at this, it's almost like a mirror. And when you're driving certain times of the day, the sun goes right on here and into your face. And since Germans take these on the Autobahn at 150 miles per hour, I don't think this is something I want in my eyes at 150 miles per hour, or any speed, frankly. How did this get into production? And why is it no one else mentions this in their reviews when it's so obviously there? I just put my hat over it and carry on. Alright, now let's get to a very important part. Pay attention here if you're going to buy one of these. The Audi S3 comes standard with 18-inch wheels and tires. These are the optional 19 inches we saw on the price sheet. They cost around $15 extra. And they look nice, but there are a couple of issues I have. First of all, there's a lot of wheel here, but very little rubber. About 4 or 5 inches wide, or thick, I should say. Not much here from here to here. That means there's less rubber to absorb impacts, which can result in a very stiff ride. And on a typical car, tire pressures will usually run 34 to 36 pounds per square inch. Here they want 45 pounds per square inch. For driving on the racetrack, okay, but on the street, this makes absolutely no sense. All it does is make for a very stiff, harsh ride, as I found out because I already put 100 miles on this. I've run into this situation before many times with high-end German cars, and I found that lowering the tire pressures by 10 pounds, around 35 pounds, makes for a smoother ride, but it's not affect handling at all, from my observation. So what I'm going to do is, for the official part of this test, going out and getting the fuel economy numbers and handling in corners and such, we're going to keep the 45-pound tire pressures. Then after we've done all the important stuff, I'm going to lower the tire pressures down to 35 pounds and see if it makes a difference in ride quality or handling. We'll take it out a second time. Now, a disclaimer. I always suggest using vehicles to factory specs. For liability reasons, I'm not telling you to put less air in your tires. I'm just doing it as an experiment for myself. If you buy your car and you want to do the same, that's on you. By the way, if you look right here, you'll see we have a head-up display. I've been trying to find a way to turn this off. I've not had much success. So what I'm going to do is the old-fashioned way of disconnect. Going to get some black socks and stick it down the hole. And now the head-up display is gone. Won't be bothering me anymore. Of course, I'll probably forget the socks when they pick up the car and 5 or 6 months from now, somebody will find the sock stuck down in there. It has probably happened in the past dozen German cars I've done this to. So you're driving an Audi, you find a pair of socks stuck down in the head hole. They're probably mine. This is a very nice vehicle to have in heavy city traffic. It scoots in and out of vehicles very quick, and it's very, very quick when doing so. The only disadvantage is that stiff ride we get from these tires and high tire pressures, but we'll be dealing with that soon enough. Alright, we did our fuel economy test with these tires up to 45 pounds factory spec. And we did our performance driving on backcountry roads with these tires at 45 pounds factory spec. Now I'm going to take my little trusty tire gauge and lower it down to 35 pounds and see if it makes a difference in ride quality or performance. And again, if Audi's recommended 45 pounds, of course I have to tell you use 45 pounds. This is something I'm doing on my own. Do so at your own risk. I have to say that for legal reasons. So I've been driving this around town most of the day, and is the ride smoother? Slightly so, yes. I still feel every bump on the road, and I hear every bump on the road, but it's a lot more sedate and livable. And of course that's in the comfort mode, so I'll put it in the dynamic mode, stiffen things up, and see what happens. Alright, I've been driving the dynamic mode with the stiffer suspension, and not much difference between the low tire pressures and the high tire pressures. Very, very stiff, noisy ride. There's really no reason to put this in dynamic mode unless you're racing around corners. For street driving, you need to put it back in comfort, which I think I'm going to do because this thumping is driving me nuts. Thump, thump, thump on every pothole or crack. Back in comfort mode, and now it's a lot more livable. We're going to take this Audi on a highway trip, see what type of fuel economy numbers we get. When driving on the freeway, this vehicle has excellent stability and lots of passing power. Good for highway trips. That's unless you have these optional 19-inch wheels, performance tires, and the higher tire pressures that they recommend in the high 40s. Get a lot of rumbling on rough pavement, and doesn't make for a very pleasant long trip. Alright, that highway trip was 112 miles at 91 degrees temperature. And the window sticker claimed 31 mpg. We got 32.4. Impressive considering we're doing an awful lot of passing. For those interested, in 1,453 miles of driving, this vehicle averaged 23.2 mpg. We're going to take this S3 on some tight mountain curves, which is the type of road it was intended for. Unless you're in Germany on the high-speed Autobahn doing 150 miles per hour, but we can't do that here. But we can take the corners, and man, this thing's got power. Yes, sirree. It's taking corners like a champ, but right now having the comfort mode, I think we need to step it up to the dynamic performance mode. The 7-speed transmission is a great box, always knows what gear to be in when it's an automatic. That's one thing I like about Audis, their transmissions are far better than the performance you get off a Japanese car. Yes, the Japanese transmissions are reliable, but they just do not perform that well. And if you want to play a race car, you have the pedal shifters on the steering wheel. Where they belong, they can always be reached, even in these tight corners. Where if you have pedal shifters on the steering column, you can't reach them in these corners, making them utterly worthless. So why do they put them on the steering column? I have no idea. It's kind of stupid. Yeah, I know Ferrari does it, but they're wrong. What can I tell you? They belong on the steering wheel. We're climbing up to 7,000 feet, and this engine's not strained at all, thanks to its turbocharger, which gives a lot of torque at low RPM. We also have a high winding 6,500 RPM red line, so lots of horsepower to create too. This is a very, very well engineered machine. Right now we're driving with the factory spec high tire pressures in the high 40s. And the thumping noises on this rough pavement is very annoying. So tomorrow night, after we lower the tire pressures significantly, we'll come out here again and see if the lower tire pressures affected the handling. I don't think it will, but we'll know soon enough. And hopefully make a smoother ride. Oh man, this thing is potent. I just took the car out of dynamic mode and put it in comfort mode, and I really don't see that much difference in cornering ability. If I was racing somebody, I might put it back in dynamic, but for what we're doing here, comfort seems to work just as well. And the steering seems a bit lighter, but not by much. And the ride quality seems a bit better, but not by much. Been running downhill for the past 12 miles at high speed, and the brakes are getting a little warm, but they're not fading. A true German sports sedan. That's what we want, strong brakes. That's what we're paying for. What's really sad, a lot of people will buy a car like this, a high-performance German sedan, whether it's an Audi, BMW, Mercedes, and they'll just use it to drive to work because they want a status symbol. They'll never take it out on a road like this. Bring it out the way it was meant to be driven. Pretty sad. They'd be better off with the Toyota Corolla. But this is the way the S3 was intended to be driven. It does so just fine. To start things off, we're going to take this on the absolute worst road in the county. All kinds of ripples and thumping you're going to get when you drive on it. So right now I've got this in comfort mode, and I guess you can hear the thumping on the camera, and the car is bouncing around an awful lot, but it's no worse than an average vehicle. Before, when I drove on this with the high tire pressures, it was really bad, knocking the fillings out of my teeth. Here it's about average bad. More to come. We're going to take some high-speed corners, and the first half of the trip will be in comfort mode. Previously, with the high tire pressures, the cornerability was very firm and precise, probably because of the stiffer sidewalls you get with high tire pressures. With less air in the tires, the sidewalls are bending a lot sooner than I would like, which means it takes a bit more steering effort to keep things on track, but not much. We're talking about maybe a 5 to 10% difference, a guesstimate. When it comes down to the bottom line, you can take corners just as quick at the low tire pressures as you can the high tire pressures. Just takes a bit more effort, that's all. No big deal. Bottom line, unless you're going to take this on a racetrack, I just don't see any point in running high tire pressures at 45 pounds instead of 35 pounds, but that's me. I'm not suggesting you do it because I'm obligated to tell you to keep everything at factory spec. Let's see, we have some deer. Yeah, that's what I want to hit at 50 miles per hour. That's why I'm glad Audis have nice brakes. Even though it's a small one, it can still go through your windshield. And that would be no fun. He's not fazed by noise, I see. So what's my take on this Audi S3 after a week of driving? Well, it's a very, very nice sports sedan. If you're not interested in what BMW, Mercedes, the competition has, this is definitely worth a look. It would be nice if it didn't cost so much. By eliminating some of the fluffy options, you get the price down to more like 50 grand. You can find one at the lot that low. As for me, I would go with the standard 18-inch wheels. I think these 19-inch wheels are too big for this vehicle, and I found the ride to be a bit too much firm for my taste, but that's me, maybe not you. Lowering the tire pressures did help, but I really shouldn't have to do that. Overall, though, a very nice sedan. I will miss it. Now, if you want to see our night driving headlight test, here's a link coming up. Just click and watch.